What if I told you that feeling behind in life isn't the worst thing that can ever happen to you? That you can still live a fulfilling and amazing life despite where you think you might be with respect to other people? Well, I am living proof that you might be a late bloomer, but it doesn't mean that you are late in your life. It doesn't mean that your life doesn't have meaning or that your life is going nowhere. And that's what I would like to talk to you about in this video today. So if at any point you feel that some part of this video resonates with you or that you see yourself in the story that I'm about to tell you, please let me know. I'd love to know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So ever since I was a little girl, I had big dreams and my family had big dreams for me. I was very smart, book smart, and it was just a given that I was going to grow up to be a doctor, the youngest doctor in my family, and that I was going to grow up to do great things, get married, have kids, get a house, or maybe two. And that was the plan. By the time I was 13, I had my whole future mapped out. I was going to finish school at 22, university at 22. And by then I would be a medical doctor. If not a medical doctor, I would have a PhD. That was my dream, to have a PhD in some sort of science. And after having my PhD, I would work for some time for a big company that would pay me a lot of money, of course, and then buy my first home by the time I was 25, meet someone and get married by the time I was 26, have my children by the time I was 29, and then maybe retire from work at age 30 or 35 and just take care of my family. That was my dream, okay? Simple dream, right? Simple. It was not something out of the ordinary. But then something major happened to me when I was 17 that changed the whole course of my life forever. By the age of 17, I got pregnant. And as we all know, when a young girl gets pregnant, her life seems to stop because having a baby is a big commitment. It's a full-time commitment. It's not like just having a baby doll or something where you could just leave them at home and then go to work or go to school and continue your life like, nothing's happened. That came as a shock to everyone in my family, a shock, but not just a shock. It was a huge disappointment because we had so much dreams. We had so many plans for my life, for my future. So I had to stop school. I had finished high school, thankfully at the time, but I couldn't get into university like my mates were. And this is so hard for me to talk about, really, because it really changed my life. At the time, I felt like it was the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. I felt like my world was caving in. I felt like there was no future for me. I felt like everything, every dream I ever had would never come to pass. But I had a very supportive and loving family, and they were there for me. So I had to stay home, of course, to take care of my baby. And a year after, I developed an autoimmune disease, which affected my skin. And that brought down my self confidence a lot, and even my will to want to do anything else in life. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to meet people. I didn't want to have friends over. I just wanted to be left alone. So that took me another 1 year to get over. And by this time, my child was, growing well and happy. And finally, I decided it was time for me to try and get back on track and go back to school. So I applied and got back into university. And when I was in university, so we're talking about me already being 24 when I went back to university. According to my plans, by now I should have, started working. I should have had my PhD already and then started working. But that wasn't to be the case. So when I got back into university, it was a kind of a weird, strange world for me because everybody there was younger than I was. I mean, most people, maybe not everybody, but most people were younger than I was. And I felt so self conscious, especially coming from my background. As a child, I skipped school twice. So I was always the youngest person in class. And I was proud of that. And coming now at age 24, everyone else was younger than me, 19, 20, 18. And I felt so old and out of place. And I felt like everybody else was where they were supposed to be at the age they were supposed to be. And I went through a period of depression while I was at university. My family didn't know, my friends didn't know either. I don't think I've spoken much about this, but I was depressed. I didn't know I was depressed at the time. I just felt lost, and I felt like life was unfair and that I was behind, and I just couldn't see where my future would take me. I couldn't see anything majorly positive in my future. I felt like now the only thing I could do with the rest of my life was to just struggle and get a job and just live. And for about 4 or 5 years, I went through a time when I had no zeal or zest for much in my life. I just went to school, I studied, I tried to get good grades, which thankfully I did. I immersed myself in reading, and I tried to forget where my life could have been, had things not turned out to be different. During this time, I also noticed that most of my friends, most of the people that I had known from high school, they were already doing things that I thought I would have been doing at that time, right? So they were getting married, having kids, having big, lavish weddings, great jobs. And I was doing none of those things. I was stuck. I was stuck. And it wasn't until a few years later when I met my current husband that I realized how stuck I actually was. And I started deciding to love myself because I realized that if I didn't love myself, I couldn't love him. How can I expect him to love me in a certain way if I don't even know how to love myself? And so I embarked on a self discovery journey because as an introvert, we tend to keep things to ourselves a lot. We tend to bottle up our emotions, and we appear and look like everything's okay on the outside. But most people don't really know what's going on inside, don't really understand the battle that's going on inside. I don't know if you are probably the same. I'd like to know, of course, how you feel or how you're feeling now. If you've ever been in the position that I am describing, how did you feel at the time? When I met my husband, I started getting to know myself, building self trust and self respect, understanding that the things that I was doing in the past that I was trying to use to fill up the gaps in my life were not working. They were not the things that I actually needed. I actually needed to get to know who I really was as opposed to who other people thought that I should be or other people think that I should be. Because I believe I disappointed quite a lot of people back then, family and friends, with the way my life seemed to have been going at the time. And looking back now, I feel like if I hadn't gone through those experiences, I wouldn't be where I am today. And where I am today is exactly where I want to be. I am living a very harmonious life. I have my ups and downs, of course, like everybody else. But I think I sort of fulfilled the dreams that I had as a teenager, as a 13-year-old, but in a different way. So I graduated university. I have my master's degrees. I have a job that I love. I'm doing a job that I absolutely love, and I look forward to going to every day. And I know that I can retire tomorrow and still be okay. I have a great husband. We have between us 3 kids, and the kids are doing well. And when I look back, I think there were times when I felt like life wasn't worth living. I kid you not. I had thoughts like I was useless, that I was worth nothing to anyone. And that was also a period of my life when I didn't have friends, close friends. And the few people that were around me, I didn't feel confident enough to tell them my story. And I think that that confidence that I built in myself, that self love and respect that I have for myself, is what led me to starting this channel and to be able to boldly speak about these parts of my life. And I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I wasn't behind. I think if I had just gone through everything and I had achieved all the goals that I had for myself at the ages that I had set for myself, perhaps by now it would just be a thing of, so now what next? What next? What do I do next? What else will make me feel fulfilled? But I feel that having gone through all of those experiences in my life, it has made me realize how much my life is worth and how much I love my life. It has also made me realize that we cannot compare ourselves to other people. No two-person has the same journey in life. Some people would go through life having everything very quickly, very fast, while other people would go through life having these things happen to them slowly. So let's take getting in a relationship, for example. I was late to that. I was behind in that. By the time I met my husband, most of my friends, or should I say my classmates from high school, even university, were already married. But at the same time, I have a few classmates from university right now who are either still single or just about to get married in their 40s. I had a child very early in life, but other people had a child when they were supposed to have a child by society, according to society. I didn't have another child. I don't have a second child. Even when people were expecting me to have a child with my husband now, I didn't feel the need to do things the way other people wanted me to do them, because I came to the realization that I'm not living my life for anybody else. You are not living your life for anybody else. You shouldn't be living your life for anybody else. You should live your life for you. You are the author and the driver, the sailor of your own boat, and you determine where that boat goes. And when it arrives at the destination, you have control over your life. And so comparing yourself to anybody else, comparing your race with anybody else's race, is a complete mistake, because they might have all the tools, they might have the luck on their side, the backing, from their families and their friends, and they might have all those things that are helping them on their race, while perhaps you are alone in your race. And so if you compare yourself to them, you have a different circumstances. So there's just no equality there. There's just no basis of comparison there. So even comparing yourself to somebody else that might seem similar to you is also not the right way to go. Because again, we are all made differently. We think differently. We act differently. We react to situations differently. We might have the same situations, the same backgrounds, but our reactions will most likely be different. And so if you are feeling behind in life today, I want you to listen to my story and to know that you are not alone, and also that you are not behind. You are where you should be. You are a product of your past, your present, and the future. And you never know what that future is going to hold. And if you hold yourself back with thoughts of being behind, of feeling like you don't belong because you are not achieving the things that people are supposed to be achieving at this time of their lives, then you are preventing yourself from reaching your full potential, from reaching the future, which is yours for the taking. So I would ask you today, why do you feel like you're behind in life? Take that reason and let it be a propeller for your future. Don't look at anybody else's life. Don't look at where anyone else is today, because we don't know where they will be tomorrow, you know? So I've had friends who got married at age 25, 26, maybe even younger, but they're no longer married today. I have friends who are just having babies now in their 40s. So that life that seemed perfect from the outside isn't always as perfect as we think. Not even my life is perfect. And that's what makes it unique. That's what makes it special to me. And that's why I love it, because if everything was perfect, then I think it would be boring. Absolutely boring. So please, if you resonated with this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to know, how do you feel about your life? How do you see yourself now? And how do you see yourself in the next 2, 3, 5 years? So I hope that this video helps you if you feel like you're not where you're supposed to be. And my message for you today is, you are absolutely worth it. Your life is worth it. Wherever you are today, whatever position you are today in your life, it is worth it. And don't close the door to the future. Keep an open door always, because you just never know. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more.